Here we are on the Bloody Shots podcast, and I'm wearing my helmet today in honor of the raid, Shadow Legends. Or wait. Shit, we weren't supposed to play that game. We were supposed to watch the movie. Fuck! Okay. Okay.
Do it. Capiche?
Okay. Okay. Are you ready?
Are you okay?
Are you ready for this? Are you hanging by the edge of your seat? I need a break. Okay.
Y'all ready for this?
This is it, folks. This is going to be about an hour and something. It was just stalling because we didn't watch the movie. Sorry. Actually, we did. Actually, you've already seen it. You've already seen it!
Yes.
So what the fuck are you talking about? Yo! Okay. So let's go on to Nerd News.
Nerd News.
Yeah, baby. Don't make you
Who
fucking
should
nerd
start
news, baby.
this week? Doesn't even make sense.
I'll start. So,
All right.
I found out that, speaking of something we were talking about last week with George Romero, but I guess Shudder is releasing The Amusement Park, which is one of George Romero's like films that pretty much like was commissioned by, it says commissioned in 1973 by the Lutheran Society because they wanted a film about the horrible treatment of the elderly. The movie was never released because the society thought it was too gruesome for mainstream audiences, so it was literally like put in a vault somewhere. And recently,
it's like his lost movie.
Right, it was recently like cleaned up and like restored and stuff. So it's gonna be, they just released like the trailer for it on Shudder, but they're gonna be releasing like the whole film like soon. And that's really the only place you can watch it until they do, like, you know, obviously they'll do like a physical release. I'm sure Screen Factory or Anchor Bay will be in on that. But yeah, it's supposed to be about an elderly man who finds himself increasingly disoriented and isolated during a visit to the amusement park. What he initially assumed would be an ordinary day quickly turned into a hellish nightmare filled with roller coasters and chaotic crowds. It's supposed to mirror, I guess, being like becoming elderly and like the out of touchness or something like that is what it said in the, you know, the thing for it. So looks interesting.
I heard about this movie a couple of years ago and I've been really dying to see it. It sounds super interesting. Plus pretty much anything Romero does is gold, except for Martin, that movie that you hate so much.
Which I found out later was actually Bruiser. But you know, Martin Bruiser, who could blame me, right? Except for they're completely different movies with completely different titles. Okay, so what do you have? You're like, the Lost George Romero movie. I'm like,
I'm like, Bruiser 2, coming November 24th.
Bruiser 2, the Martining. I'm like,
Bruiser 2, Martin's Revenge. It's like, wait, what?
George R. Martin's Revenge. It's like, give me all the fucking food.
R.L. Stein's Revenge.
Dude. It's like, that should be the Game of Thrones theme. I'm like, what?
Friend or fiend. Alright, so my nerd news for this week is there's going to be a sequel to The Meg. Meg 2. Do you remember The Meg?
What is that?
It was a disappointing movie about a giant shark where Jason Statham fights a giant shark.
Oh, that's based off a book. Did you know that?
No.
Because okay, so like, I guess I should talk about this real quick, but like, I used to work at a bookstore, and when I was there after that movie came out, probably like a couple years ago, I was like filing some books away in the horror section, and I saw that title, and I was like, what the fuck? And it was like, yeah, literally, it's I guess it was a book first, and they based it off that, but you would probably have no idea, because I would be very shocked if any of the things that happened in the movie, like, happened in the book. You know what I mean? I'm sure they just took the title
Yeah.
and just shit all over it. Not saying I don't know if the book's any good or not, but yeah. I never saw the movie. I guess it was shit.
Yeah, it's like how could you have a great concept like that where the movie actually sucks, but like it was just very watered down. There was it was PG-13. There was like no shark mayhem. It was very disappointing. But the Meg 2, I'm pretty excited about because the director is going to be Ben Wheatley, and he makes like weird art movies. So it could be actually something interesting. So hopefully they redeem themselves with the Meg 2.
You'll have to tell me how it is.
Yeah, I love shark movies.
Yeah, I wasn't going to watch that movie when I saw like how fucking big the shark was, and it was like completely in a fucking underwater thing. I was like, nah, I'm not going to watch that shit. I have a really like I guess I don't know. It's like I guess like an irrational fear of water, but I think it kind of goes back to like some people never got rid of the whole like fear that like we had as like apes of fucking water. You know what I mean? Like some people still have that fear. It's like that's kind of the two big things. Is like I can go into like water to a degree, but like huge bodies of water really freak me out when I look at them, like the ocean or something, or like or like heights, like really high heights, kind of get to me. So maybe it has something to do with like not being able to really control things. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is not the psychiatric podcast. This is the Buddy Shots podcast. So,
well, I'm just thinking we're going to have to throw you in a body of water to get over your fears.
Into a body of falling water.
From a high height.
Right.
Like the ultimate disgrace.
Into a fucking huge ocean. I'd be like...
You're like, nightmare!
Dude. They're like, wow, man, he's dead. It's like, yeah. Killed himself before he fucking...
He's dead. Yeah.
I killed myself before he threw me in the water. Like, we weren't really going to do it, but now he's dead. Okay. So, let's go on to... Recommendation Nation. Ding, ding, ding.
Recommendation Nation!
Nice.
Ding, ding, ding.
No peeking of mics. Oh, my
right.
God.
Then I failed.
And then you, like, right after that, you instantly glitched up. I guess I'll go ahead then. This week, I recommend Resident Evil 7.
Damn it!
Oh, was that yours?
Yeah, I was gonna try.
Are you serious?
I thought you might. I was gonna try to steal your thunder.
Oh, shit. Well, how about you go
That's right,
ahead?
I got a backup.
You do? Nice. Look at that. I generally don't have backup, so it's a good thing you had a backup, because if you had gone first, we would have been
weak.
fucked.
It's pretty weak.
That's
but
okay.
We'll get there.
But anyway,
yeah, Resident Evil 7.
yeah.
You played it this week and posted a review.
Yeah. I was going to say shameless plug, but you did it for me. You're taking everything from me. But yeah, I played every other Resident Evil game, and for the longest time, I was like, I don't want to play this game. It's first person. Kind of wasn't really on board with like what I had seen of the setting, but I don't think I really knew everything about it, because when I played it, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. So like in a good way. So I started playing it, and yeah. I can't really cover every single thing that I liked about it here. Like, I kind of did all that on the review. But, like, mainly, I feel like the fear was brought back to Resident Evil. And it's not like the scariest fucking game I've ever played, that's for sure. But it's like...
I thought it was pretty intense. Like, it was stressful for me to play through it.
Really?
Yeah.
There were definitely times. Like, I feel like in the first part of the game, when you're in the house... but kind of towards the later part of the game, it wasn't as scary, honestly. Like, I felt like, to me, like, once you kind of got, well, I guess I won't say too much about it, because I don't want to ruin it for people if they haven't played it. But, like, I will say that, like, there is definitely, like, pretty much since like Resident Evil 1 and 2, there hasn't been another Resident Evil game that's been as like scary as like some of the stuff that happens in this game. They definitely get it.
What about Resident Evil 5? If you thought you were scared in the dark, wait until you see the daylight.
Dude, wait a minute. Dude, 6 was the worst. I still think that like if 7 hadn't come out,
I agree.
6 would have been the end of the Resident Evil line, or it just would have got worse and worse, like the movies. So, thankfully, they switched gears, and I think this was about the time that Capcom kind of started finally getting their shit together because a bunch of their other franchises started like shaping up. Because Resident Evil like 6 was just bad news. It was like they went full like action. They didn't even try to make it scary, and it's like the one part
so over the top. It
yeah,
jumped the shark.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. So recommend Resident Evil 7.
Cool. Yeah, glad you played it. It made me want to play through it again, and I'm pretty excited for 8, honestly.
Yeah.
But I got to find a way to get a PS5.
Yeah, I mean, you do that, or you can play it on your PC. I don't know how strong your PC is.
Yeah, I probably have to beef up.
Beef up!
But,
you could bring your
you
could bring your work laptop like you did that one time over to Nate's, and fucking Soldier 76 in Overwatch didn't have a gun. He was just holding his hands out, and I was like, we may be trapped. But yeah. Good stuff.
So my backup recommendation, I'm going to do something we've never done before.
Make people laugh.
Recommend a food.
Oh shit.
Because last week there was a pretty controversial talk of sloppy hoagies. And it made me think, man, I haven't had Penn Station in
I haven't had diarrhea.
So, yeah, my recommendation nation is Penn Station hoagies.
What? So, okay, what did you get on it? Like, what'd you get?
Like the Dagwood with all the different meats.
Okay, yeah, I think that whenever we go there, that's
go.
what you've gotten. I don't think I've ever had that before. I generally just go for the cheesesteak or whatever.
Dude, it was so good.
Yeah.
And I hadn't had it since the pandemic started, so it was like,
oh wow,
this is great.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to like knock anything like that, but yeah, I can only do like a Penn Station every once in a while because I feel like the more you eat it more frequently, the like you get diminishing returns.
Yep.
And it's not really to do with like really honestly like stomach issues for the most part. It's mainly like it's a little too greasy sometimes.
It's heavy as hell.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
but let's see here.
Jack Burton would be proud.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that like it's mainly
You and me used to go there all the time, so hopefully we can go again. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even like I remember when I would go to that was kind of a staple when I would visit you at college too. It was like Penn Station was kind of a deal, and like I don't know, those places are legit, but yeah, it looks pretty good. I'll have to try out the Dagwood. I generally, like I said, I get the cheesesteak, and I tell him to like not like to take really the onions off because I don't know. I like onions, but I can't. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of just like a shit ton of onions on a sandwich. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I like the mushrooms are fine. Honestly, I honestly really just get like the cheese, the meat, the mushrooms, and like mayo. And sometimes you have to say light mayo because if you don't, they go fucking insane with it, and you're like,
they'll slop it up, man.
Right? And I'm like, cool. This is fucking disgusting tasting. I like mayonnaise, but like, there's a point you reach like where it's like Event Horizon. You go over and there's no going back. You know what I mean? It's like okay,
exactly. Yep.
Fucking disgusting. So, I was gonna say speaking of disgusting, but that really doesn't go into anything I'm about to talk about next, so I won't say that, even though I just did. Let's talk about The Raid. Okay, so...
The Raid Redemption.
Yeah, so I actually looked into that, and apparently this movie was originally just titled The Raid, but then when it came out in America, they titled it The Raid Redemption for no fucking reason, because
Yeah,
I have
terrible. It
I,
sucks.
I have
terrible title.
I had a note at the end that says like once I got finished watching this movie, there was no fucking redemption. So it's like, what?
Okay. You beat me to it.
Yeah.
Or actually, so did you check out Roger Ebert's review by any chance?
No, not yet. Or not yet, but you'll talk about it, is what I mean.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Should I go over like what the movie's about first?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, The Raid is a 2011 Indonesian action film written, directed, and edited by Welsh filmmaker Gareth Evans, and the film stars, I'm about to fuck up some people's names here, I'm sure, Iko Uwais, who previously worked with Evans in another action film. It was pretty evident this guy was like the Jackie Chan of this movie, because he was doing like all the stunts and shit. Merantau, released in 2000. Okay, we don't even know about that shit. In the film, an elite squad tasked to infiltrate a high-rise building run by a ruthless drug lord located in the slums of Jakarta. Among them is Rama, played by Uwais, a rookie member of the team. So they infiltrate this place, and the SWAT team breaks into the building, and pretty much all hell breaks loose. And they learn that Lieutenant Yu, there's this older guy, like, that's in charge of everything, didn't inform his superiors about the operation, and pretty much they have to fight their way out. And really, at the end of the movie, like, the only people left alive are, like, the main guy, this random dude that, like, gets fucked up in the beginning of the movie and just, like, lays around in, like, this apartment building for, like, the rest of the movie, and the lieutenant guy that, like, pretty much fucked all this shit up, because he was going in to, like, bring this guy back, but he's pretty much, like, got all these people killed, like all these rookies, and even, like, this commander guy that was underneath of him and stuff. It was like a complete shit show. And then you find out that, like, actually the lieutenant was, he went in there, and the people above him pretty much were like, okay, he's coming in, just so you guys know, kill all these people and the lieutenant, because this guy's a piece of shit, and, like, we'd rather have this, like, drug pusher and shit, like, alive than this guy, because I guess the drug pusher was, like, actually making the money, so it was, like, corrupt police above him and stuff. So, but they end up coming out because you find out that, like, one of the drug lord's, like, side guys, because he has two of them, and one's his, like, hand-to-hand, like, master, and the other guy's, like, the smart guy, and the smart guy is Rama's brother. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a somewhat accurate recap. I mean, we're going to get into more of it, but, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically wall-to-wall action.
Right. There's a couple times when it
which is
kind
great.
of like, but...
But yeah, since you mentioned it, I had to... So Roger Ebert, he titled his review for this, and here's the title. Who or what is redeemed? How? Why?
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's just like when they
ruined a good title. Like, The Raid is a sweet title.
Well, my thing is, like, this reminds me of, like,
those are
Resident
good.
Evil, where they would just put on, like, random titles in those movies after a while. So it was like Resident Evil 1, and then instead of numbering them, they started being like Resident Evil Revenge or Resident Evil, like, I don't know. I don't remember the titles, but it was just like anything you can think of, and it was just, I've never been a big fan of, like, instead of, like, putting numbers, you put fucking, like, subtitles, or, like, like...
Yeah.
The Raid Redemption. It's like, why?
Well, the good news is they fixed it for the sequel, because it's just called Raid 2.
Right.
So,
but now there's, like, a movie called Raid Redemption and one called Raid 2, so it's like, At least you know which one's second. Maybe.
But Roger, like, he spit roasted this movie, dude. Like, he hated it.
He turned into two people and fucked it somehow.
Him and Siskel.
Oh, true. So this movie came out when Siskel and Ebert were still alive?
No.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I won't get too much. He did. There's one comment that I'll read that I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He compared like this movie is just a big video game, blah blah blah, which is not, I don't think, a good criticism. But he said some of the hand-to-hand battles are shameless in how they mimic video games. A fighter stands in a corridor and demolishes an enemy. As the enemy falls, another springs into position from around the corner, ready to be demolished. Then another. It's like they're being ejected by an automatic victim dispenser. So yeah, there you go.
An automatic
was not a fan.
Dispenser.
But onto our opinions. What did you think of the raid?
I don't know. I've actually come around in like different ways, because when we first started this, or when I first started watching it, I absolutely thought it was fucking shit. And then like once, I actually have a note here. It says once they get out of the stairwell, like, and like where they're being just ripped apart and stuff, and like Rama starts like showing off and doing his shit, that's when I feel like the movie really actually started becoming good. Because everything before that, like, wasn't horrible, but it was just kind of like, I felt it was, to me, it wasn't something I was very interested in. But like once he started doing the shit, like put the canister in the fridge and then like it blows up into the hallway, like, and then he starts just whooping people's asses and stuff, that's when I was like, okay, this is fucking awesome. Like,
yeah.
And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't bad before that. It was just kind of like, it looked like cheap. And I was just like, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna wait and see until we get to the good stuff here. But
yeah, I think it was cheap. I think it was pretty low budget, which is fine. But I remember when this movie came out, there was a ton of hype, and I was super pumped to see it. And I think like the hype was too much, and I was kind of disappointed. But I do think it's a great action movie. Period. Like, I love these kind of movies, and it's for the most part really well done. But I have several criticisms that we'll get into.
I actually have. Good.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so like, I have a thing at the very like that I kind of had before any of this, but like about like before we really get too far into it, to kind of like dispel some of the shit about like the comparisons between this and obviously like Dread that came out like a couple months later.
Yeah.
So I like looked into this and stuff because I had actually, I think, I don't know, you probably saw this before you saw Dread, possibly.
I can't remember.
But I had never heard of this movie until, like, Kevin nominated it. So, like, I didn't know anything about it, but then I saw the whole thing, like, because I said, like, oh, like, because when he was describing it, I was like, oh, you mean, like, Dread? But then, like, I looked into this, and, like, I could see, like, how somebody would see, like, even I thought that, like, it turns out, like, I thought, oh, it could be, like, a rip-off or something, but, like, these movies were apparently conceived independently of one another, like, at the exact same time, and, like, how movies are made, there's really no way that, like, the people making Dread could have found out the plot and then tried to make, like, a version to rush in, especially, like, how much better, like, Dread looks, I feel like, compared to this movie. Not, like, to shit on this movie, but, like, there was definitely, like, obviously this movie, like you said, was low budget.
It
like,
looks ugly as hell.
Right.
It's ugly.
But, like, Dread had, like, a shit ton of money behind it, so it was a big Hollywood, like, as far as, like, the way it looks, like, film, and it had more money behind it. So I feel like there's really no way they could have, like, been like, oh, what's this movie coming out? And then, like, literally it came out, like, a couple months later. Because then, they still have to edit it and do all this other shit. It's not like they filmed it in, like, a month, like... So...
Yeah, and just because the plots are similar, like, those two movies couldn't be more different. Like, Dread is super stylish, and, like, it has all that slow motion stuff. It's just...
Yeah. Well, I think that's also because there was also, like, there's actually been a couple of times when that's happened with movies where, like they had that... There's been a couple of times where, like, there's been just back-to-back, like, comet movies, and then there was, like, back-to-back disaster movies and shit, like volcanoes, and it's like, okay, like, what? Like, some of those, I think maybe they might have heard about it, but with how big they were and they came out literally, like, right next to each other, there's no way they could have, you know what I mean, like, got all of it together just by hearing what the other people were doing.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to talk about that because this one, like I said, this one did come out first, but at the same time, it's not comparable other than, like, there's a bad guy that runs a fucking, like, apartment. I mean, it's not like a revelation for a fucking movie. I mean, that's a real life thing.
I think they're both good. Yeah, they both stand on their own merits. But I do like Dredd much better.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say if we're gonna, like, talk about it and compare it, I think there's no question for me. Like, I like Dredd like a billion times better. But now that I've said that, I don't want to, like, shit on this movie, so I guess I just did. But let's go ahead and talk about, like, Raid Redemption. And I had a note about how, like, when they were at the very beginning of the movie, when they pull up and, like, this guy's talking about what they're gonna do, and everybody says yes sir, it sounds like really bad ADR.
Because very well could have been.
They were like, yes sir, but it was like, okay, this does not sound like because, like, I don't know, it felt like the lips were not all saying yes sir, but it was like a perfect.
You're like, I'm out.
It was a perfect, like, yes sir. I was like, I was like, okay. Also, they, like, garrote the fuck out of a dude in the beginning of the movie, and I was like, I didn't really know what was going on. I was like, dude gets taken out or garroted. I'm like, was he bad? He was just watching some weird fucking show. It was, like, on TV. I guess he was a lookout, but still they, like, fucking reamed him. I was like, good lord. But...
well, that prepared you for the violence that would happen later.
Well...
this movie is pretty much nonstop killing.
It is, but it's also, like... I feel like this was, like, unwarranted violence, kind of, because it was like this guy. I mean, turned out later, yeah, this guy was like like he would have said, like, cops, but, like, with the way that, like, things go down, it's very. I find it very funny that, like, they were able to do that, but then they didn't think that anything else was going to go down, like, with the way that, like, people were, like, trying to inform, you know what I mean, like, runners and stuff. I was like, how naive can you be, but at the same time be, like, so... I don't know. They also had, like, a shit ton of rookies with them that they brought with them, and they were literally just dudes that had no names that were, like, fucking red shirts on Star Trek to get, like, murdered.
Yep.
So...
I had a note that said, why don't they have backup? But I think that gets explained pretty much with the whole conspiracy.
Right.
That's, like, the stuff with the conspiracy and all, you know, the corrupt admiral or whatever. I don't think the movie really needed that. Like, I think, I guess they're trying to, like, make the characters more interesting, but, like, I don't know. I think it overcomplicated such a simplistic...
I also, like
it wasn't necessary. Like, just have a bunch of dudes doing a raid.
I mean, honestly, I feel I had a thing that said, like, if Rama was literally the only person here just going through each room and maybe had, like, 2 other friends with him, for me, it would have been, like, 100 times better. Because,
yeah,
like,
I agree.
Because whenever he was doing shit and, like, fighting people, like, I completely disagree with Ebert's thing of, like, it was just, like, a video game thing, because there was never a time when dudes were waiting their turn to attack. They were all, like, coming at him. It was like a Jackie Chan style. Like, they were all coming at him, like, full force, but they just were not, like, trained.
Yeah,
so
I guarantee Roger never played a video game once in his life. So.
Yeah. He probably ate one, but...
oh! Pizza time.
Pizza. Anyway. But yeah, like, I have a note actually that says Rama's fight scenes were, like, the best part of this film. Like, so, like, by far.
Absolutely.
And I think that, like, they ended up being true, just in general.
Yeah, the scene kind of early on where he has a baton in one hand and
a knife,
in
dude,
the other.
yeah.
Oh.
Nope. Gloria's not having that.
But yeah, that scene, sorry.
No, you're fine.
That scene was, like, the best. Hey, that's enough.
She just wants to give her opinion.
That was kind of a problem because he pretty much just annihilates a room full of dudes, and it's awesome. And I don't think the movie ever really tops that. Like, that was the best part for me.
Yeah, I think I kind of
a little bit early.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree because there are like things that happen later on where it's like he slowly like isn't able to like keep up with that. So it's like, and there's also like right after that when he like takes the dude and they hide and stuff, he leaves and it's like he doesn't take any weapons with him. Like he doesn't bring a knife or a baton, and I think that was kind of one of the parts where I was like, this is stupid. Not like the movie's stupid, but that part was stupid. I was like, what the fuck? Like,
you mentioned the refrigerator scene, which that was great.
Yeah.
There's also a moment where like a dude drops from the ceiling, and as he's falling, another dude tackles him, and they fly out the window.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is great. Love it.
Trav says, "Hey, that's enough." Exactly what I say to Fonz. Yeah, there's a part in this movie where like Rama goes out, like they go out a window, and they land, and like one of the guys he's pretty much fucked, and like Rama's still okay, and he like, but he gets shot, but he's okay because he's wearing the vest. It seems like, but then like he comes in through the window and he takes the vest off for like no reason. He's just like, it's hot, and I'm like, what? Like I didn't understand what that was all about. Like I was like, why'd you take off the vest? Was it because if it was bulletproof, like why'd he take it off? That seems like a stupid thing to do. But if it was just a regular vest, then like still, why would you take it off? Like, you know, because it seemed like he's being shot at. So it's like, were they just missing and they were like barely hitting the like the stairwell they were in and stuff, or was it like, or the fire escape, or was it? Yeah, either way, it didn't make sense for me. I think he just took it off. He was like, and I was like, what? Like, the vest wouldn't hurt you. Like, it's not like he took his shirt off too, and like to make sure he wasn't like fucked up or shot. It was like literally just took the vest off and was like, okay, time to continue with the movie.
Maybe it was another one of those continuity errors, Jack Burton style.
Yeah, that's true. That could have been it. They're like, yeah, let's just film the scene real quick where you come through the window, but this time take the vest off because you weren't wearing it.
Dude, that's hilarious. It's 2 weeks in a row where you notice like dudes taking off vests for no reason.
Well, I just thought it was weird because it was like I was like they have been shot at so many times, and if he's wearing a fucking bulletproof vest, why the fuck would he take it off? There was like before this they were in a stairwell getting shot at by like fucking AKs and stuff. Like, what the fuck is he thinking? But then again, he also didn't take like a fucking knife or like baton with him, even though he should have. Like, I would have had a ton of weapons with me at that point. Like, why not? Especially with how skilled he was with those, apparently.
Yeah.
I think, like you were saying, that kind of ruined the rest of the movie to a degree with like the action and like just the smartness of the character, like his intelligence, because it was like, I don't know. Like, it's like if he... I don't know. There's nothing more to be said about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, could we get to, like, my biggest criticism of this movie?
We sure can.
The shaky cam.
There was a point where I was going to write a note that said Cloverfield, fuck you, but I didn't.
Dude. The shaky cam in this movie is out of control, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I hate it so much.
Yeah, I hate it because it ends up ruining what is clearly good choreographed stuff.
It does.
And it doesn't hide anything. It's not like they're trying to hide that like somebody can't do shit. Everybody in this movie is doing like good stunts and like good fights, but it's just like,
I think it's like, I've heard, and I don't know if they said it on this movie, but I've heard like directors and stuff say like, we use shaky cam because we want you to feel like you're in the movie. And it's like, I always thought that was condescending. Yeah. Like, do you ever think that there's been someone who's so dumb that they think they're actually in a movie? Like, I'm in the raid now. I better start punching and kicking because I'm in the movie now.
I think probably the only people that would think that would be somebody that was like mentally, like mentally handicapped. But even then, you probably wouldn't be showing the raid to a mentally handicapped person. Like,
well, it made me think like even Donnie Brasco like a few weeks ago. Like, I was totally involved in that movie. Like the scene where he doesn't want to take his shoes off. Like,
yeah.
But that's because the characters are good and like the story, like the situation is interesting, not because like they're shaking the camera around like a dumbass.
Right. Yeah, I think the only time when shaky cam is acceptable is when it's on Star Trek and they're shaking the camera to make it seem like everybody's like flying all over the place. Yeah. But that's a film like trick of the camera, not a stylistic choice that really isn't a stylistic choice. It's generally used to hide incompetent filmmaking or to show everyone that you're an incompetent filmmaker by shaking the camera and ruining good shots you have. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Anyway,
but I do think so I've seen the Raid 2 and I think we definitely need to do a show on that because like the Raid 2 is like Dawn of the Dead compared to Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay.
Like it's way more epic and like it's totally different style. It's much more like cartoonish, and I liked it way more than Raid 1. So
nice.
They may have learned their lessons.
Right. They heard this podcast.
Yeah. They knew we were going to say this 10 years ago.
So I have a note that says the captain is legit as well. Then 5 seconds later, captain gets killed by hand-to-hand guy. And I was like... Nice. I actually was kind of like pissed about this. I put captain gets killed by hand-to-hand guy so they can set up that this guy is no joke so later Rama can overcome it and kill him in a fight. Holy shit. Doesn't exactly happen.
You're talking about Mad Dog?
Yeah, that doesn't exactly happen the way I thought it was going to happen, and that's actually one of the things that I didn't like about this movie. But once we get to that, we'll talk about it.
What did you think of the Mad Dog character?
I thought he was interesting. He was definitely not like a original character. But
I think it was a total ripoff from Hard Boiled for starters.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of those characters are legit all the same. They're just like crazy guys that want to fucking do stuff. Oh god, they're fucking totally the Joker. They want to fight hand to hand instead of shoot somebody. It's more fucking, and I don't know. It sounds like I'm shitting on this character, but yeah, it was just kind of like once this captain guy like got killed, I was just kind of like, okay. Like, not that was, like, pissed me off. It pissed me off because it was so obvious why they did it. It was like, you know, okay, well, you did this just so you could, like, make this character, a character already named fucking Mad Dog, like, seem like he's real fucking, like, a bad guy. It's like, no shit. You know, he was already, like, a crazy motherfucker and everybody knew it. Why the hell did you have to, like, do something so obvious?
Yeah. Also, I think this director is obsessed with like executions. Because I've seen a few of his movies, like Raid 2. It's even worse, and like I've seen another movie of his where like there's executions happening, and it's like they linger on these executions, and it's like kind of disturbing. But that was one of them where Mad Dog pretty much breaks his neck, but like he takes like a minute to like enjoy doing it
because the
like,
guy kept trying to like fight for his life, and then he was just like no, and I was just like, is something gonna happen here? They kind of like telegraphed that maybe he's gonna like get a knife or a gun and like fight back, but no, it's just it doesn't happen, and I feel like it kind of ruins it for me. Because it was like, I don't know, it's like in a wrestling match when they have like 100 false finishes and they finally have the finish. You're like, well, I already saw the fight end like 10 times, like. You know, very anticlimactic. You know, it's like speaking of which, I have another note about that later in the movie. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really. Let's see here. Actually, the next note I even have is about the end fight scene. So I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, it's a couple things like. When this movie came out, like I said, there was tons of hype. Like people were saying it's like one of the greatest action movies ever made, and like I think it's a really good movie. But like Hard Boiled to me like is the best, and this doesn't hold a candle to that.
Yeah, I don't know.
And another criticism is like What's that?
I said I haven't seen. I think the last time I saw Hard Boiled was like when we watched it at your place, like years and years ago.
Oh man, so amazing. But the one part of that movie that's great is like the squib work is like a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this, there's a lot of like CGI blood and stuff in this movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think there's some real. I think, or it was very well done, but still, like, I hate the CGI stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The bullets and the squibs.
The biggest issue with that is just how much it doesn't look real when other stuff is real. It just is so out of place. It's kind of like, I mean, because it really doesn't take a lot. Like it's not like Godzilla or Kong where it's like they're huge fucking things and they're interacting with like sets or like, you know, like other people. It's like, and there's like really a hard way to get that done. I mean, it could be done, but it would, you know, it's starting to, like I said, get to the point where it's like, how would this feasibly work to have them, maybe with technology, like later on, like years and years from now, they could make something as big as like that Gundam and make it actually like run around and do all kinds of shit. Like a huge puppet kind of a thing. But like right now, CG, okay, then whatever for that. But for like shooting somebody, what do you need? You need a gun. Okay, they had the guns, those were real. You know, or at least they were props or something, you know. They looked real enough. They have the people, they have all the costumes, they're all wearing it. They just have to fucking fall. You know what I mean? Like, and use a blank or something.
Yeah.
And, like, put fucking fake, like, bullet entry wounds on them and, like, that kind of a thing. It's like, yeah, like, it's just so, it's the easiest thing to do, and I don't know how to do it, but I'm saying it's the easiest, like, thing to do that, like, when you do it with CG is just so, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just...
Laziness. It's laziness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not even that, because it's more so, like, just... Like, it doesn't make sense why you would even do it, even if you were lazy, because I feel like it legit... You had everything there, all you had to do was one more thing. So it's like you went to all this work, like, you just had one more thing to do. So it's like not like they were lazy to the point where they didn't even have them like have real guns, and you know what I mean. Like I feel like the real guns would have been the costumes would have been the hardest part of it possibly. It's like how hard is it to do a squib? Like they've been doing it in movies for fucking ever, right? It's like
for like 5 cents.
It's like driving all the way to like Columbus, Ohio, but then like not ordering the thing you wanted to order there, and instead like getting it shipped to your house after you've driven there. Like, okay, the easiest thing was all you had to do was order. Anyway, it's like, yeah, that's all. I feel like we go over this every time when a movie has bullshit like this. Is like practical effects and shit. Is like,
yeah, bring them back, man. Bring them back.
A lot of movies do still use practical effects, but the problem is, like, that's not the standard. It's like the standard is to just hire a bunch of people to sit at a computer and obviously, like, a movie is nothing without editing, but a lot of times a movie can feel like nothing if it isn't, like, if it doesn't have the right, like, graphics and, you know, like, effects and stuff. So.
Yeah. I think I've heard some people say, like, well, if you use real squibs, like, if you have to do multiple takes, like, it takes time to clean up, like, you have to replace the costumes and, like, wipe up the blood. It's like, dude, that's a lame excuse.
Yeah.
It's just lazy.
No, I mean, yeah, that's like, yeah. Yeah, that's just, like, the same excuse that somebody would have of saying, like, oh, you couldn't make, like, this movie R-rated or whatever, like, as an example, because there's kids out there that might see it. Like, that's a fucking stupid excuse. Like, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like think of the children excuse. Because yeah. I've heard that millions of times, but come on. Fuck off, man.
Okay, so I have a couple more notes before we get to the ending, I guess. Although one of them, I don't know what it means. This never happens, but I wrote something down. I don't know what it means. It says, "My fight, comma involved?" Question mark. For the life of me, I don't know what I was. So, anyways, sorry about that.
My fight, comma involved.
My fight involved. Anyways, there's one of the best scenes in this movie is when they're hiding like in this little secret compartment.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. My fight involved. It's like you're actually one of the people that does translations from like Chinese to like English.
My fight involved.
Oh, but they're in the closet.
Yeah, and what do you think of that scenario?
Are you talking about like when they hide in the little crawl space from the dudes that were coming to find him? Yeah, I mean, I thought that was there was a part, though, when he, like, pulls the knife out, and I was like, how was there not blood on it? Like, I guess he held it.
He did a good job of wiping it off.
Right, because when I looked at it, and there was literally nothing on it, and I was like, what? Like, could the dude literally not have, like, moved away, and then, like... Because it was stuck on the wall, why didn't he, like, use his shirt to completely wipe it clean? But instead he just held his hand there, and then, like, when the dude pulled it out, there was literally no evidence. It was, like, even dry. I was like, what? Then again,
he's really good at wiping.
The drywall could have been so, like, taut that fucking it reformed tighter around his machete. Or machete.
Nice retcon.
Danny Trejo would be proud.
He would. There's lots of machete action in this one.
Not of like a lot of machete kills though. Like a lot of it's thwarted. There's a couple.
Yeah, and it's weird how they go like they start with gunplay,
and then like they
go hand to hand.
There's like roving fucking gangs of machete wielders. It's like the dudes in Escape from New York that come out of the fucking, like, sewers. It's like, huh? They start off with, like, guns, and then they go to, like, fucking, like they, like, devolve into fucking primal tactics. It's like, what?
Become altered beasts.
Right. It's like, well, now that our foes have run out of bullets, it's time to not overwhelm them. Let's do it fucking correctly here. I'm like, what? Just so happened that, like, every time that they, like, shifted to a different, like, way of fighting, or, like, what they had ran out of, they, like, their opponents also switched.
Yeah, and I wish there would have been more of that, because that's kind of my last criticism, and it may be the same one that you have, is, like, the Muay Thai fighting, it just becomes repetitive over time. Like, it becomes way too repetitive.
Yeah.
And I wish they would have switched it up with, like, either different weapons or, different styles. But it's just, like, I kind of got tired of it and kind of got bored of it by the end of the movie, honestly.
Mm-hmm. There are some old man fights that happen for, like, at that very, very end when, like, the lieutenant's fighting, and he's literally, all he's doing is just throwing potatoes, because he can't fucking really fight. It's like, okay, well, I guess that's a different style. It's like, but, like, yeah. My thing about the end fight that I had was, like, I felt that it started off pretty good, but it kind of got a little boring. Not like boring,
totally.
Not like I was like time to go to sleep. But
definitely
like,
boring. What goes on for so long?
Yeah. I also didn't like how it was literally 2v1. Like, it literally made, like, the main guy kind of look like a fucking jabroni. Like, they would never have done that in a Jackie Chan movie, I feel like. Or, like, another, like a movie with, like Ip Man or anything like that. Or, like, the dude from, what's it called?
Bruce Lee.
Yeah, or like, what was that one movie we watched? Like, there's 3 of them, and the third one's like in the past. That guy was kind of like supposed to be the future, but he hasn't done anything. Yeah. But like, I put that, like, felt the fight, or the end fight started off pretty good, but like, he was stabbed in the throat and he kept fighting, and I thought it was so fucking stupid. I thought that was like, it sucked. I was like, why? Like, he got stabbed in the throat with a fucking, like, light like thing that had a hole in it. So realistically, blood should have just been pouring out of that thing, and he would have just like pretty much been fucked. But the only way that he was able to like fucking like be taken down is they both grabbed him, and like then like he kept fucking with the thing in his neck and eventually killed him by like completely killing him like with his throat. And I'm like, dude, just being stabbed in the throat would have fucking killed him right there. Like he kept fucking fighting.
There was like gallons of blood squirting out. It was like still he kept fighting.
Yeah, I don't think I noticed that because I was just like,
really?
Yeah, I was pretty much done with this movie at this point, honestly.
Yeah, I was too. Like that fight goes on for so long, and it's like, why? I wish Mad Dog would just kill both these guys and call it a day. Like he's the better fighter.
Yeah, it's just badly made movie. I feel like at that point, because it was like, I don't know, like that. Yeah, that in-fight was probably like the worst in-fight I've seen in a movie before. Like, just because it made pretty much both the guys like. Okay, so there's a couple things.
Well, that
here.
made me think like to contrast that with like the end fight in all Steven Seagal movies where he just instantly murders every like his victims have no chance.
Well, I mean that's more realistic if he was a better fighter than the other guys.
Yeah.
I mean like cuz I mean contrast that to this. So there's a part in this movie where like they find out that like the smart brother who's like weaker because then like Mad Dog gets like his like hand stabbed because he's lying to the boss, and they're like, okay, we're gonna fuck him up and kill you and stuff. But in the end fucking fight scene, he's able to like hold his own against this guy, so he becomes like a fucking master just like his brother. Like there's never alluded to that like he knows how to fight, but then this like computer nerd becomes like a fucking like fighter. That's one thing that I thought was kind of stupid. But I also thought it was stupid that, like, if that's the case, 2v1, they really couldn't have fucking finished him off quicker. Like, there were parts where, like, one of them were holding his hands and one of them were holding his feet, and he was still able to get out of it and, like, fucking fight them. And I was like, dude, this is the stupidest shit. Like, if this was, like, it was, like, him, like, this would have been so much better if it was his brother and Mad Dog versus him. Like, and then his brother, like, turns on Mad Dog because he's like about to be killed, and he's like, you're gonna be an uncle. That's when he tells him he's gonna be an uncle, and he's like, holy shit, and then he like hits Mad Dog, and then like they fucking kill Mad Dog.
Yeah.
But like, of course, that's not how it happened. It was like the main guy that's like a badass couldn't take him out alone, so there was really no reason for them to kill that captain guy the way they did. It just made like you know what I mean? Because, I don't know. Because the captain almost fucked up Mad Dog. But then, so it just makes it seem like Mad Dog is just lucky as fuck that he's winning these fights. But then he's able to overcome almost both these dudes. Like, I guess it's just his level of expertise in hand-to-hand varies per scene, just like the main guy. Whatever, to fit whatever, like if it's regular dudes, he's going to ream them. But if it's another dude, it's going to take, like, 20 years, and he might lose. It's like, I don't know. Like, with Jackie Chan, I've never seen one of his movies where, like, he's almost always the underdog. But he's always able to, like, overcome the odds because, like, he can use stuff to his advantage. And kind of almost how it was for a lot of the time in this movie for Rama. But then things start to, like, go downhill big time. And when it gets to this end fight, like in Jackie Chan films, he'll be getting his ass kicked, but then he'll overcome the odds by himself and fuck up the bad guy, and like the bad guy will like kill themselves because it's like, depending on when it was made, like if it was in the 80s, it'll probably be like the bad guy kills himself because he won't listen to Jackie Chan or something, you know what I mean? That kind of a thing. But it's like, in this movie, literally, with two people, he almost won. I was like, and Rama was definitely better.
He was tired, dude. Rama, he just doesn't have the stamina that Jackie has.
That's true, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's how you could see it. You could say that like the reason why the fights got worse and worse is because he kept like his stamina was running out. But then it shows him like earlier in the movie, like he's working a bag for like 20 years. So it's like, what is going on here? Like, I don't know. Not only that, but they're going to introduce logic into this movie after all the fucking bullshit that I've seen throughout this whole film. I will say, I have to give some mentions to some awesome scenes in this movie with like people dying. Like a dude gets thrown. There's a bunch of people that get thrown down like the stairwell. But there's especially a cool part where a dude lands. He gets thrown off the stairwell and he lands back first on like the railing, and he's dead as fuck because his back breaks and he's like fucking bent backwards in half, and it's like holy shit.
That made me yelp.
Yeah, it was fucking gross. He's like ah, and I was like, there's a part where like they're trying to sneak around, and there's a dude in the hallway, like in the stairwell, and he's shooting at them. But Rama was like hiding below him, and he like Batmans him, and he like fucking pulls him off the ledge. And it's like Jesus. I already had the thing that was like titled "The Raid Redemption," but there's no redemption.
Yeah, horrible title, man. Horrible. I have one more note, and I had to watch this, or I watched this movie with subtitles, but it was like the closed captions. So it would like. And it was kind of annoying because it would say like music is playing in the background, but a lot of time it would just the subtitle was men grunting, like during the fight scenes. And dude, this whole movie is nonstop men grunting.
Yeah, I actually didn't write that note, but I had a feeling you were gonna write that, or you were gonna have that as a note.
Like for 90 minutes.
I think that also doesn't help that like it's in a different language.
Well, the grunts aren't in a different language. Grunting is a universal language.
Yeah, that's true. Never mind.
But it does become annoying, and especially when I noticed that subtitle kept popping up. Like, they should have just called this movie, like, The Raid Men Grunting.
I'm sure they would have got a lot more people to buy it that thought it was something else. But, yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that was Indonesian before, because it was definitely like hard for me to get used to the language at first, but once I did, I was like, okay, this is not like I was like offended by it. Obviously, it was just foreign languages I think I've heard so far that we've watched have been like Korean or like maybe Japanese or Chinese or something, but like haven't heard Indonesian, so I was like, it was definitely like different, so that's why I think it was like but it only took like a couple minutes. It was just kind of like I said, I don't watch a lot of foreign films unless they're like recommended in the podcast. Right, I think every single one that he's recommended is a foreign film actually. Yeah, I was actually I thought that's why I didn't write it down, because I knew you would probably bring it up or at least have a note about it. How like, people were, it was like a lot of, it was almost like they were filming like a fucking like, I don't know, like Power Rangers fucking movie or show or something, because people were like making like the like shit all the time, and I was like, why? I don't know if Rama was really doing as much. It was like all the bad guys thought they were like fucking like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I felt like it was mainly just the bad guys that would rush in, like the henchmen that would just rush in and get reamed, that were like, ah! And like, I specifically remember like one of the dudes that was like, had like dreads, that was like a Rastafarian that was fighting Rama in an apartment building. Is he like... He, like, got thrown on the ground, and he's like, ah! I was like, Jesus! Also, a lot of the rooms were, like, very, like, cheap haunted house looking. You know what I mean? Like, they had, like, a set, but they were literally just gonna, like, paint it with some, like, weird, like, psychedelic, like, glow-in-the-dark paint or something for some of the rooms. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I bet you. I mean, I think that was because it's such low budget. I'm sure they had like a very small set that they had to keep like reusing. Mm-hmm. So Yeah, but yeah, it's very bland and like repetitive.
Right.
I feel like we've criticized the hell out of this movie, and I feel bad. Kevin's probably gonna cry when he hears this, but
I don't know. Maybe
overall,
he hates this movie.
I think this is a cool movie. And
yeah, actually, that was one of my. I was gonna say maybe he hates this movie and he wanted us to rip it apart.
Oh
no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, mission accomplished.
No, I had that note actually too. That at the end of the day, like I actually really like this movie. It's kind of like when I was doing my Resident Evil 7 review. I think there was a lot of times when I criticized stuff, but like, I think it's easier to remember things that are bad about something than it is to remember about things that are good about something, because the bad things piss you off more than the good things like blow you away most of the time.
Right, and especially with a movie like this, like it's really cool. You just wish it was like that much better.
Right, because if you're having a blast watching it, you're not gonna write down, "I'm fucking having a blast. This movie's fucking awesome." You're just gonna watch it and enjoy the film. Whereas if the movie's pissing you off, you're gonna be like, "Okay, I'm gonna roast this fucker. Like, fuck this shit." You know what I mean? So,
Ebert style.
Well, it's like that's what we do is we we're reviewing this film and we're criticizing it or critiquing it. So. And it's not like we're writing down these notes. It's not like I go out of my way to write these down just for, like, so people will watch the fucking podcast. I do it because I want to give it a fair shake, but it's kind of like, like I said, you remember, like, the worst things that happened more than you do, like, to write down at least. I mean, there were a ton of great things that happened in this movie. Like I said, I can't give this movie enough praise for, like, how awesome it is when Iko Uwais, like Rama, is on screen and he's fighting people. But the problem is, like, a lot of this movie isn't that. Like, some of it, not a lot, but some of it isn't him kicking ass. It's like, some bullshit with, like, the fucking lieutenant and, like, I was also going to say, I didn't have this written down, but, like, oh no, here it is. Like, I felt the main, like, bad guy, like, that runs the raid, whatever it's called, like, what is it, the fucking apartment building? Like, the big boss? Like, his death was, like, super anticlimactic for all the shit that happened in the movie. Like, literally, the lieutenant just fucking shoots him. After all the time that he's trying to, like, use him as a bargaining chip, or, like, he's been paid off by him. It's like, why?
I thought that was another thing, not to keep comparing this to Dredd, but, like, the villain in Dredd was so much better than this guy, like Mama,
right,
or whatever. Like,
oh, Mama!
Mama!
Good thinking, Mama!
Classic villain. Oh, Mama! Oh, Mama! Mama!
Kenny's fucking Mama pizza. Good thinking, Mama. Yeah, but no.
One-time pizza.
Yeah, I completely agree. We just keep, like, it's like we keep talking about. Well, we won't talk about it a couple times, but, like, Dredd versus this movie, and yeah, people can be like, well, this movie came out before Dredd, but, like, that doesn't matter. It matters who did it best, not who came out first or last. Like,
yep.
There's a shit ton of things that people have done, that were like there have been a ton of action movies that have come out before Hard Boiled. But to you, that doesn't matter, because to you, Hard Boiled is what did it best.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you've done it first or you did it after Hard Boiled. It's, did you do it better? Because if you did it better, who gives a fuck about Hard Boiled? Who gives a fuck about The Raid? Who gives a fuck about Dredd? If you did it better, no one's going to remember that. They're going to remember your movie or your thing. Like, just do it better. Not saying that's easy, but
yeah.
If you want to be remembered for doing something worse shit, it's never easy. Like...
So in conclusion, Dredd rules, The Raid rules.
Hashtag with that. No,
Hashtag, sorry, Kevin.
Hashtag I mean, if anybody's gonna say sorry to Kevin, it should be the person that directed this fucking film.
Oh! Hashtag my fight involved.
No, I don't know. I don't want to like shit on this movie. It's actually kind of, I'm surprised that you had as many criticisms as I did, because I thought what was going to happen is you were going to have maybe like one because of what you said about like next time with Dredd, like to talk about that. Yeah. And I was going to be ripping it apart because, you know, once his fight scene started after like the stairwell, the movie did get a lot better. But before that, I was like, it was just a bad version of like a like Call of Duty fucking infiltration mission. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, this is just kind of boring. Who cares? Like, when is this shit gonna go? What's gonna happen here? You know, like. And it's also like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie that I can remember where a fucking dude just shoots and kills a kid, like, on purpose. Because the lieutenant like blows away this fucking informant that's like a kid. And he, like, after he had already, like, told the other informant about it, I was like, the captain was like, what the fuck did you do that for? Like, he was already, like, he had already run away and told everyone. He's like, we have to do this shit. And I was like, but then, like, the lieutenant turns out to just be 100% puss, and I was like, what kind of a fucking character is this? I don't understand. Like, he was all over the place.
Dude, you're forgetting Assault on Precinct 13. Where at the very beginning of that movie, like, one of the bad guys blows away a little kid. It's, like, horrifying.
I actually haven't seen that movie in a long time, so I don't remember that. I don't remember that movie
John Carpenter doesn't mess around.
I don't remember too much about that movie. I just remember, when they're trying to, like, stop the assault, and they're, like, pinned down and shit. I do remember in that movie with Keanu Reeves, where he's like teaching like inner city kids how to play basketball, I think it is. There's like a part where like one of the really young kids gets killed in a drive-by, and it's like, I was like, Jesus. But
good Lord, man.
Yeah, it was a good movie. That part was sad as fuck. Let me see, what's it called? Basketball movie. Keanu Reeves basketball movie. Hardball.
Yeah, I'm not sure about.
Yeah. It's kind of like...
Never saw that one.
Pre-Mighty Ducks. He's like... Well, maybe it's... No, actually, I think it's after Mighty Ducks. I think Mighty Ducks was like in the 90s, right?
What if one of the Mighty Ducks got blown away?
They'd be dead.
There you have it.
I'm like...
Asked and answered.
I'm like, what would happen if one of the Mighty Ducks moaned or groaned?
I'd cry. With fear.
Christ.
The Moany Ducks?
The Moany Ducks, mini-me? Were you over there fucking moaning with the ducks? You little moany cuck.
I swear I heard a frickin' moan.
I swear it was all fucking Frankenstein. Yeah, I don't know. I feel bad because I feel like we've talked more about not the raid than we have the raid this entire time.
No, I think we nailed it as always. The raid, cool movie. I always complain that like they don't make action movies like this anymore, but they clearly do because the raid is a cool action movie.
Yeah,
and I think we should do the raid 2 in a few weeks. Definitely, it'd be fun to talk about.
We'll see. Yeah, at the end of the day, this is a good movie. It's hindered by a couple unneeded plot points and some weird like things that happen in the film that probably didn't need to be there. But overall, I would much rather them make like a ton of raid movies than like, you know, I don't know, another fucking shit movie that I can't think of right now.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, there was clearly like love put into this movie, so I can't really complain too much, even though I just spent an hour bitching about this movie. So apparently I can complain. So I guess we're not going to do nominations for a while. I don't know how long we're going to not take nominations for, because we want to kind of talk about a couple movies that we want to talk about. But who can blame us? I mean, you guys are sending us these shitty movies. We gotta fucking pick out our good ones.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
The Buddy Boys.
Actually, we've been getting some good films. I actually really like the nomination system because it's actually, I've been getting a ton of movies that I would never watch. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just like a ton of great movies, like AVGN. Oh wait, that was my pick like a couple weeks ago, and I completely fucked us on that, so I have to apologize, I guess, for that.
Well, how are you going to redeem yourself?
Well, hopefully I don't fuck us with this. But let me go over, actually, let's see here, some of the movies that we've watched in the past here that have been nominated to us by the kind folks. Our first one was actually Willow, Hoosiers, Real Men, Strange Brew, The Wailing, Law-Abiding Citizen, Bloodsport, AVGN. Oh wait, that wasn't nominated. Clue, Train to Busan, Godzilla vs. Kong, Midnight Meat Train, Donnie Brasco, Big Trouble in Little China, and then this week, The Raid. So, honestly, nobody nominated the worst movie. That was me.
Yeah.
I fucked us. So, I think that I'm going to try...
Didn't we agree that Godzilla vs. Kong was worse?
Oh, I thought you said no matter what, AVGN was going to be the worst movie you ever saw at some point.
No way.
Yeah, I guess every week we'll do this, but like this movie is not the worst movie we've seen, or at least I would have to say that.
No, it's the worst movie of all time.
That's true. And it's not the best, but it's not boring. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's hard for me to say AVGN is the worst movie we've seen because I'm such a huge AVGN fan, and so are you, but...
So am I.
The movie was shit. Well, if the movie had just stopped before the last 30 minutes, it would have been pretty fucking legit. But the end was like pulling pubes, dude. It was bad.
Let's not bring up old wounds.
That's true. Thank you. Thank you for steering me in the right path, as usual. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this chance to nominate a movie. In honor of the 50th anniversary, I would like to nominate that we watch AVG in the movie too! No, I'm just kidding. He's not been around for 50 years as a person. I'm going to actually nominate Lupin the Third, The First, a 2019 CGI Lupin film that's actually like the first CGI film that they've made for the franchise. So I've actually been holding off on watching this one, as I own it, but I've been holding it off ever since I got it, like earlier, I think it was like last year or earlier this year, because it was supposed to come to, theaters, and then of course COVID hit, and that got scrapped, so then they just, Shout Factory put it out on like Blu-ray. So, I'm going to nominate that film. I'm going to be watching it in English, because I like the English voice actors. I was kind of wondering whether or not to do this, because it might be like a horrible podcast, because I don't know if there's going to be anything for me to criticize about it, because it's like AVGN. I might be a little biased. Well, I'm going to be biased because I'm like a huge fan of the franchise. But we'll see. It's kind of like Bond. There's definitely like different like movies they've done that haven't really been great, and I don't really know much about this. Like, I've seen the trailer for it, but that's it.
Okay, cool.
I was either gonna do this, or I was gonna do like the Castle of Cagliostro, which is like a classic, but I only really have a couple criticisms about that movie, and it's really mainly to do with there's no Lupin the Third theme song in it. So all
right, could be fun.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll be very interested to see what you have to say about it, because we'll see. I guess we'll see if you're like, this is bullshit, none of this was practical, and I'm like, it's fucking CG.
Well, first of all, what's with that title?
I know, right?
Like, we should be watching Lupin the First before watching Lupin the Third.
I know, we need to get on it. Actually, Lupin the First would be... Fuck, what's his name? Lupin... Lupin, because it's based on the old, like, Lupin character, written by, like, Arsene Lupin, written by, fuck, what's his name? It's like an actual, like, literary character. It's a French story written about Arsene Lupin, who's, like, a thief and stuff, and, like, a master of disguise, and the dude that, like, wrote it, like, put a character in the book called Sherlock Holmes because fucking he originally had Sherlock Holmes in it, but Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was like, what the fuck, you can't do that shit, and he's like, okay, fucking the character that chases him is called Sherlock Holmes, and he, like, really couldn't do anything about it, so it's literally the same character. So, like, the guy that created it was Maurice LeBlanc. Like, the guy that, like... But now that it's, like, in the public domain, like, all of, like, those characters, like, they just started, like, a show on Netflix called Lupin that's kind of, like, a continuation of, like, that original character. But, like, Lupin the Third is, like, supposed to be his, like, grandson. So, it's supposed to be, like, he's the descendant of the original, like, Lupin character. So, he's, like, half French, half Japanese. But he goes around and steals shit, so... And the guy that, like, chases him isn't, like, Sherlock Holmes, it's just a guy called Zenigata. Or, Inspector Adaginez from our D&D games. Nate's like, is Zenigata? And I was like, no. John's like, I should have never let you do that. I'm like, I know. Okay, so... Cool. Enough fucking around. You got anything else to say about this shit?
Nope. Another perfect podcast in the books.
I agree. I think we did a really good job, as usual. I mean, I don't think we're biased. I think we're just right.
Always.
Okay, now we're coming off as assholes. If this is your first time watching the podcast, we're just fucking around. Don't actually.
I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but beep beep.
Dude. I don't want to toot my own horn, but fuck everyone else. No, just kidding. Cool. So next time we'll be watching that film, and I look forward actually to knowing what your pick is going to be. Unless, was it The Raid 2? Is that what you nominated?
No.
Okay.
I think let's hold off for a few weeks. Let the raidy goodness die down.
Yeah. So next week, Lupin the Third, the first CG movie, and then we will find out next week at the end of the podcast when we talk about Lupin what Matt decides for his next pick.
Oh, man. It's going to be great.
Nice. You're like, Lupin the Third. I'm like, what?
I'm like, I sure hope nothing happens.
Me too. Cool. Well, until next time, everybody. Right. I'll let you say your last thought, Matt.
My fight involved.
Okay, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.